Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I want to talk about when an avoidant actually wants commitment with you, the signs that you will see. Now, the tricky part about being with an avoidant is they're not very clear that this is happening. And what's interesting is I've worked with some of you guys. I've worked with a lot of couples, and the avoidant individual is like, oh yeah, I've been feeling like that for years. And their wife or their husband will be like, you never told me that. What do you mean? I didn't know that you were committed to me or you value this relationship. And they might say something, oh, I knew you were the one right when we met. And the other partner will be very confused. I've had some cases where you guys might tell me something like, I overheard them saying we're in a relationship even though they always say we're friends. So this is a really interesting scenario, which is why this video is important, because you need to know. Even if they don't want you to know or they don't realize you know, you still deserve to know, because the reality is some of you guys have been in these relationships for years and years and years and you still don't know, and I want you to know. And if you want to book a call with me, that's pinned in the comments, or email at me. That's also pinned in the comments. Okay. So the first one is they're more flexible with requests you ask for them. You can even test this if you want. I would even recommend it because it's not a bad test. It's not manipulative. An example could be, could you pick up milk from the store after work today? See what they say. Maybe that's not your scenario. Maybe you can say, I want to go to the mall next weekend with you because I need help carrying some of the bags. Can you help me? You can even say, there's something I want to buy. It's a little heavy. Can you help me out? There's a recipe I want to cook and I know you're a better cook than I am. Can you help me out in the kitchen today? See what they do with these requests. These are not romantic requests. They're tangible requests. And there's a reason why I bring it up. Avoidants don't inconvenience themselves with things that they don't think is valuable. Like, that sounds selfish, and it is. But that is also the way they are. But because they're like that, you get a good insight of where you stand. Because if they say, no, I don't want to, or if they're hesitant but they do it, then you know, okay, they're at the stage where they're starting to commit. Or if they're like, yeah, sure. Okay, you guys they're committed to you. They're not going anywhere typically. So that is the first way to look at it. You can test it if you want. But the tricky part is, if you are a person who has been asking for a lot of requests that they might be pushed away from. So like a request, if you're sick, that is a harder one for them. Like if you're sick or you're injured, this one can be tricky because for them, they find it offensive if somebody says, hey, do you need help, when they're sick or injured, because it means that you think they can't handle it by themselves. And so they won't put you in that position because they don't want to offend you. Like, they don't want to make you feel how they would feel. And so that type of scenario, that's not going to work well because they have a different perspective of it. That's why I'm saying, like, incredibly tangible stuff. Can you pick this up for me? If you're going into the gas station, can you buy me a bag of chips? Something really small. Depending, because it depends on the financial needs, like, means as well. I'm not even talking about the financial means. It could be something like, can you, I don't know, set this up before I come back home? It doesn't have to be financial, okay? The next one is, they say yes to things they used to say no to. Can we go on a vacation someday? Yes. Can we go on this type of date together? Yeah, that's fine. You start seeing that prior to whatever this new commitment stage is, they said no about these things. And so there's another way to look at this. I'm not saying for you to stay with this person, but it is something I want you to think about. There is a stage where they will say no to you, and it does change to a yes. That's actually why a lot of people who know they're committed, they can say, oh yeah, I've seen that change. It changed from no to yes, which means if you're in the stage where they're saying no, it doesn't mean it's hopeless. Do you understand what I mean? Again, not saying you should stay, but it definitely is a reality. That's also the same thing with the favors. If they're not there yet, they might be. I can't tell you if that's going to happen or not, but I do think there's a lot of indicators that I can make on this channel. I've already made this channel. We can discuss in a session if you'd like. But the reality is that you're not going to fully know until you're there. And then when you are there, you can look back and be grateful to some extent that this relationship did work out. And that's not even attachment styles. People who are in relationships, there are some things that you just don't get right away and you get much later. And it's really like you're so proud of it. Again, with avoidance, it's really difficult. So I can't tell you to stay or to leave. I want you happy, whatever it may be, but it's information I'd like you to have. The next one is actually a deeper interest of knowing you and getting to know you better. This one is usually one of the first ones you start seeing. They might actually listen to you better. Some dismiss avoidance, both male and female do this, where when you're talking and they're not interested, they might space out. But if they care about you, they actually listen to you more. They hear you more. It depends though. If they're stressed, they might be distracted, stressed about work. That's different. I'm saying in general, they tend to give you more attention, like their attention when you're speaking. They get to know you more. They ask more questions. You might say something like, I'm visiting my brother this weekend because he had a manic episode and we all want to be there for him. We want to support him. Maybe that's the situation. They might talk to you the next week and say, hey, how was your brother? Is everything okay? They get to know you, they remember, and they care about the depth of your life, okay? This is usually day-to-day stuff, okay? And the next one is they use language, doing my part or it's my duty when describing their side of the relationship. This one is one of the last things that start happening. Of course, I wouldn't say like last. It's not like I'm not saying it's like 90 years later. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's like one of the last stages to like one of the last things you see when they're really just they're at their decision to choose you or they have chosen you already. So an example might be, let's say you said, can you text me before bed tonight? I would like some support. Let's just say you said that. They'll say, are you asking me to text you tonight because you feel like I'm not doing my part? Okay. So already this is defensive, but a lot of times when avoidants are defensive, you can actually see the reality of their relationship with you even more, which is, I know it's interesting, but it is true. Okay. So I'm going to explain that. When they say, you feel like I'm not doing my part, they're saying you don't feel like I give you enough. You don't feel like I'm doing my duty in this relationship. I'm not a good girlfriend. I'm not a good boyfriend. At this point, what you can say is, no, it's not that. I'm just having a difficult day. You're great. You're reassuring them and you're making them feel better. But what do I mean by not doing my part? They have a belief that once they commit, that they want to give you everything they have. And so this is why it's really important when you hear that language. It's a really surefire proof that they are committed to you. If you have even heard that once, that's enough, because that's just the way they feel in their mind. You might not hear it, which is why it might take a while for you to hear the language, but it's something that they always are thinking about. That's why they're able to say it during the time where their back's up against the wall or they're defensive, because that's how they're always operating. And the last one is they remember details about you. Maybe you mentioned long time ago that your favorite car is something, and you're not really a car person, but you do have a specific favorite car. They remember it maybe 5 years later when you're at the dealership. They might say, oh, do you want to try and get this car? I remember years ago when we first started dating, you said that was your favorite car. And you will be like, oh, yeah, I did. I still like that car. Maybe. But you're flattered. And you're also confused because you didn't take it that big of a deal and you don't really remember saying it. And you're surprised they remember because it wasn't that important to you. You were just sharing it. But that's what's interesting. It shows how much they love you. Avoidants are really particular. They have a very specific spot in their mind, so to speak, not literally, where they keep the memories and thoughts about the person they care about. And so I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.